Yo! Welcome to another episode of Indie Invasion Shorts.
Here, I got a new word while we're waiting for people to jump on and join us. I just came out of the blue, and I told Barry I'm gonna sell it. We're gonna make it a thing. It's gonna trend.
Go ahead, go viral.
Okay, I'm gonna call all our viewers. Where's my geeps?
Where's my geeps?
Do you know what words I combined there?
Gamer peeps.
There you go. Yeah. You got it. Where's my geeps?
Where's my geeps? Well, welcome to the Indie Invasion Shorts episode. I'm Mac. That's Eric. In case you didn't know.
Cheers.
Cheers. Oh, Tonio's here. Our first geep. He's the first geep. Cheers.
All right.
We're going to be missing our coffee friend this morning, Alder, in Australia, because he already said he is working. So we shall raise our glasses to you, sir.
I hope maybe he sneaks in for a little bit. Maybe.
He might have a
take a bathroom break.
Yeah. A little bathroom break or something in there.
But they were talking on the Discord about who's wearing shorts for shorts tonight, and
I am.
1, 2, 3 layers on.
Well, now? I mean, it's pretty chilly here. It's only going to be 62 tomorrow. So, sometimes it gets down that cold. You got to grab a hoodie.
We got to a whopping 36.
That's your high, though. That's my low. So, Tonio's got flip flops, but no shorts. So, It's halfway there.
Oh, here, I got another word for you.
Uh-oh.
I just heard this one when we talk about flip flops. Slaps. Is that one you use? Yeah. I'm wearing my slaps because they slap your foot when you walk.
No, Spaz, 62 Fahrenheit. Sorry.
Oh, man.
Sorry. So what you been working on, Eric? What's going on?
I've been bad already.
Oh.
Yeah, since we've had our New Year's resolution, one of mine was to work on half models. I haven't even touched a thing. No. But this is a really bad time of the year for me at work where it's super cold and it drains it out of me. By the time I get home from dealing with ice and snow out there, I'm just wiped out.
Well, everyone who's currently watching knows what the solution is for you.
Yes.
Move from the frigid north and problem solved. Well, I have been crazy, like trying to get some terrain finished up because I am leaving for Siege of Augusta tomorrow. Okay. So that won't be my first con since all the COVID stuff because we ran Coastal Con last year.
Where is Siege exactly?
It's in Augusta, Georgia. So it's
Augusta, Georgia. Okay.
From me, it's about 2 hours and change, depending on if I hit any traffic, which is highly unlikely that I'll hit any traffic. But so I'm heading up there tomorrow, and I'm going to meet Alan. Nerd traveling. That's right.
Watch out.
I'm going solo, though. I have no cohorts to travel with me this time. So that's a little bit of a bummer. But everybody's going to be up there, so I'll bump into everybody. And I've been even more of a madman because through the providence of God, I have secured a place for Coastal Con. I had canceled it, and I don't know why it never occurred to me before this, but my sister works a night shift at a motel. Just to make a little side hustle, right?
Yeah.
So they have a banquet room. It's not huge, but I was like, so how much is that? And it ended up being really cheap. So I was like, oh, dang. Well, we'll do our first 3 days then. So that was really cool. I managed to get that. So I'm kind of running around like a chicken with my head cut off right now, trying to get all that stuff put into place. But I was really, really encouraged by the response that I got when I said that I was going ahead with it. I was really encouraged by the response. When I said for people to message me, I got a whole bunch of messages that day. So that was good.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are hungry for some cons, and getting together and gaming. One of these, we got to just bust through that gate, eventually and just get back to that fun.
Yeah. Oh, there's Alder. Look, he did manage to take a break. See? We're having our coffee. We already toasted you, sir.
Yeah.
We weren't sure if you were going to make it. Todd says he would have come, but he's already booked. You know what? Whatever it is not as important unless it's with your wife, but you could just bring her because It's actually kind of funny because it's coastal con, because I'm on the coast, but the hotel that we're going to be in is literally walk out the front door, cross the street, and you are on the wharf for downtown. Okay. So you're on the Beaufort River as soon as you walk out the front door, and it's all intercoastal waterway. So yeah, pretty sweet. Cool. Bring the family, Todd. He says he does have a family visit. Bring the family. It's nice here. It's at the beach. Yeah, I know. I tried. Give me an A for effort. Alder, I'll let you off the hook that it's too far for you. I mean, if you could ride your motorcycle, you'd probably still go ahead and do it because we all know, I mean, I used to ride too before I got run over twice, but then it would have happened. Antonio even talked about it, but yeah, that's a pretty long drive and the border. So, and to be fair, give me a few more years and the 18-hour drive might be worth it because right now we are still a pretty small convention. 18 hours. Yeah, well, that's what I drove to get to you.
I think that's what I did when I came. Well, not quite that because it was pretty far north of you last year. So, but shall we get into tonight?
Well, I reckon we should.
We got kind of an interesting talk. And tonight we're talking crunchy games or the complexity of them, right?
Crunchy.
To crunch or not to crunch, that is the question. We're going to look at crunchy games, complexity of them, like I just said. And do you prefer them?
Not like crunchy, not like crunchy, like crunch berries, though, right?
Okay, without milk. Or do you like the other side of the coin and you like intuitive games, the games that you can learn in 5 minutes and still have plenty of joy playing them?
There's games you can learn in 5 minutes?
Sure.
Wow. And I want to know what the complex games are that everybody has that they play too.
Yeah, if you guys got any of those experiences and examples, throw them at us. We have a couple, but
I think that I have the winner of complex games. I think I have the winner, and anybody out there that's played it will feel the pain. Great game, but super complex. I'll get to that towards the end. But
okay.
So, well, let's jump in. So, probably the biggest thing about the long game or the crunchy games is the length of them, right? We've got a guy in our community here that periodically does a Twilight Imperium game. Now, to be fair, I don't know how complex Twilight Imperium is. I don't know if it's super complex. I know it's a resource management kind of game, but it's also more board gaming, so not my thing. But I also know that he'll post pictures. He'll say, "Okay, we're starting at 7," and at 11, they're like, "Okay, turn 1 is over."
Yeah,
I'm like, I can't do that. Part of the reason I got out of 40K was the whole, you take your turn, and if you're an orc player, which I was, it's going to take me 40 minutes to do my turn because I got to move everybody. And you just standing around on the other side of the table, and I don't like that. So the length can be a real killer on those.
Okay. Yeah, that was one of the main things that I thought of complex game is that how long it takes to play. I mean, there's also a ton of rules usually associated with crunchy games, with conditions, many steps to play the game. So like you just said, it could take you, an hour to do turn 1. Now, some of that may depend on the number of players. In miniatures world, it's usually 1 versus 1, but there are a lot of games out there that you can do a little team aspect. So you're partnering up with somebody, and that can add to the length.
I've got a crunchy one. I have no idea what game it is. I just distinctly remember we were at NashCon running games, and I was walking around, and there was a big historical game going on. I want to say it was either American Revolution or Civil War game. And there was this one dude, and he must have been on his phone for 2 hours straight before he took his turn. And they started that game at 10 o'clock in the morning. And when I left at midnight, they were still playing. I'm like, man, I don't think I could do that. I don't think I would enjoy that.
Yeah.
Alder says too much crunch puts him off. He's too old to remember all the rules. And
That's fair. That's so fair.
Tim, I got you on this one. BattleTech can be pretty crunchy, the old BattleTech, but it is hard to let go of your first love. I remember my OG box set of BattleTech with the models in it. So
yeah. One of the other points about crunchy games, and now these are kind of some of the negatives, but we will get to positives, is like Alder said, sometimes that stuff is hard to remember or in that fact master when you're playing. You're playing the game and you just can't break that code or figure out that puzzle of what's going to work to be successful in the game. And that can be frustrating sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. So but and then they can be expensive.
Yeah,
because there can be a lot to them, but I mean, you can flip that over. You can flip
that UGW right now.
But you can flip that on its head too, because any of them can, as long as there's stuff being released. Take Wild West Exodus. Take Wild West Exodus. Okay, it's not a super crunchy game, but there's constant releases. So if you're a completionist, it's gonna be expensive.
Yeah.
Oh, Bob. Okay. I'm gonna have to let my secret out earlier. I'm with you on that one, Bob. That was my secret one. There is nothing I've ever seen that says crunch like Starfleet Battles, man.
These guys are hitting some of our examples already. So they
but
know what we're talking about.
For crunch games, though, I love Starfleet Battles. It is a good, fun game. It takes forever. There's a lot to it. There's a lot of planning. I think it's the OG resource management where you're managing your warp power and your reactor power. So,
and that could be a lot of fun. It makes you feel like you're in the world, right?
Yeah, it really does. I think as far as a space simulation game, it kind of gave you the overall, I think the best feeling for it. But there was a lot to it. Now, I mean, you were running emergency teams, and you could do boarding parties, and you were rerouting power to different shields and stuff. So there was you could do everything that you saw in the show, and you were doing it from the captain's seat. So, but yeah, I got you, Bob. Nothing says crunch like Starfleet Battles. I want to know if anybody can top that, because that's a beast.
So since we're moving into positives of crunchy games, one of the things I thought about positive for crunch games is that they can have a lot of flavor in the fluff, characters or environment, right? And you're talking about Star Trek. Like you said, you feel like you're in the show playing the game.
Oh yeah, you're buried in it, man.
Yeah, and I mean, now when we're talking about the complexity of the game and it's hard to master, but that could be good for you to keep you coming back to the table to play the game. We go back to that puzzle. You're trying to solve that puzzle. And a lot of people generally like, that figuring that out. It's still fun to engage in that game and play with your buddies.
Yeah. And I think that, referencing Starfleet Battles again, I think that they did that really well in that regard. What I mean by that is you could play it at different levels so that you were progressively mastering different aspects of the game. You didn't have to go all in and do absolutely everything. Like Bob said, and only you guys that have played will get this. I'm 3 short of overcharging my phasers. Do I burn my batteries now or save them for my shields? Right? Those are legit questions you're asking when you're doing in the planning phase for the game. We've got a new person watching, Mr. Robinson. Hello. Yes. Starfleet Battles, all-time fave. Yes. We're with you on that one. Well, I'm with you on that one. I've got mine right over here on the shelf. And then Todd said Battlefleet Gothic. Now, I didn't find Battlefleet Gothic to be too crunchy, but I was buried up to my eyeballs in everything Games Workshop at the time. Yeah. So I think it kind of just flowed into it. And I still have mine. I still have my rule book, and I don't have any ships left, but I do still have my rule book and my measuring sticks and all that good stuff.
Yeah. So I think that, games like that can have that deep world that you can explore and have fun in trying to figure out that puzzle. And I see Spaz is mentioning one that we will put a pin in later.
Pin in that right there. Just put a pin in it right there. I'm gonna put it right there in the middle of the screen.
So
there's a lot of good stuff to them, though. especially if you like that. They can really challenge your tactical thinking, because those crunchy games remove a lot of the randomness of the dice. It's not that you're not still rolling dice, but it does remove a large amount of that randomness so that your tactics genuinely play a part in it. You could be playing some games and you have the best tactics in the world and you just roll badly and you're like, well, there's no way to recover from that. I've just lost.
More planning involved in it, you know,
right.
Like way far ahead turn wise. It's almost like you got to plan these steps out to get that goal that's way out.
And to be fair, even though we're not competitive players, crunchy games work really good for competitive play because there's lots of rules. So there's lots of, you can do this, you can't do that. So it kind of sets boundaries for the game, and that makes for good competitive play. Is when there's boundaries, people know what they can and can't do. So
we mentioned some examples here already. We've already mentioned Robotech. That was one that I thought of. BattleTech, I mean, not Robotech.
I don't think Robotech ever got off the ground.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mentioned GW already. Some of the, you know, whether it was Warhammer Fantasy or 40K, you know, it seemed like, and I don't know if so much the rules or the fact that every 6 to 12 months they're putting the, you know, tweaks on it. So it's like you're constantly learning adjustments. And you know, when we talk about GW games, you kind of got to think about some of the Privateer Press ones like Hordes and War Machine. Very similar type of aspect of games where you're big, large army battles, or like what we said, Twilight Imperium, those big, long, full day games that, you know, you play a whole afternoon. So,
no, thank
you. All right. So, if anybody else,
wait, hold on before we transition. Hold on, Mr. Robinson says Advanced Squad Leader gives Starfleet Battles a run for its money on Crunch. I haven't played that, but I've got a friend that does, and I will probably see him tomorrow. So I hate to say this, but he'll probably be playing it at Siege of Augusta. So I may just have to jump in. Thank you very much, sir, for the reference, and I'll have to do a little comparison, but then I'll have to come back and play another game of Starfleet Battles because I haven't played it in a long time. So there you go.
Well, shall we move to the other side of the coin, intuitive games? Now, I didn't want to say simplified games because that just makes it seem like, oh, this is just like your throwaway roll and move type of game, but not necessarily like that. When I think of intuitive games, I'm thinking of, well, basically games with less rules to worry about to play the game. You know, they're not like pages and pages and pages of rules that you got to try and remember. It may be, you know, a couple things like, say, in board game world, your engine builders. So you're going to collect resources to, you know, eventually build up this tableau of a machine to play. Now there are a lot of miniature games that are like this. You know, some that we've recently talked about that pop in my head is like maybe Rain and Hell. That's not that a hard game. It's pretty intuitive. But some of the positives for intuitive games are, you know, they're quick plays so you can get in multiple games. Like I mentioned, easy to remember the rules and what you have to do. And you know what? These can still have a lot of flavor in them. There's a lot of games that, they're pretty quick plays, but they're pretty deep in its world. Once again, Rain and Hell has this big fluff background in it. Now, it may not apply like totally to the game, like, you know, the in-world type environment, but it gives you that backdrop to play the game.
I think one of the things that that puts you off of saying simple is, I think what makes the games intuitive versus the crunchy games is that really, no matter how many of them you play, I don't care if you're playing Twilight or you're playing Moonstone or Urban Manhunt or Twisted or Twisted. Thank you. Or
I missed it when I went like that.
or the ground earth. By the way, Todd, I saw that meme you posted with the bell. That was perfect. But because there have been so many small scale skirmish games over the past decade really coming out, a lot of the stuff is similar. You know, a game might bring a new aspect, but in general, you have a lot of similarities. So that kind of by default makes those games intuitive because you're doing a lot of the same exact things.
Yeah.
So you get to the point where, right, you get to the point where you've played so many of those skirmish mechanics that you're just like, oh, all right, well, I'm just going to basically skip over most of the movement section because I get it. I know how it works. I'll look at what the terrain model, you know, rough terrain is or impassable, whatever they are for that. And so that by default makes it intuitive because they're all very similar. Not busting on any of them. I'm just saying that there's a similar thread that runs through all of them. So that makes it a little easier. And the crunchy games, they can add so many different layers of rules that it really kind of gets away from that so that you have all of those different things.
Yeah. And also probably the big one for a lot of people is they're cheaper to get into. You know, you don't have to spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars just to get something to the table.
Well,
a lot of times it's just a starter. You're good to go.
You had a key word there, though. You don't have to.
Yeah.
Say this group of people that typically listens to Indie Invasion, we know who you guys are, and you know who you are. There's a whole bunch of completionists in this listening crowd. So have to. We're not sure exactly what that means. Yes, we have to. Yes, fear of missing out, right?
And that's one of the things I like about these intuitive games is a lot of them seem to be agnostic too. They kind of tailor to that, use whatever you want type of thing. So, you contribute that to being, the charm of an intuitive game.
Yes.
Now, can you think of...
Oh, wait, look at, we must buy all the Moonstone models. Okay, I'm good. I am good for buying all the Moonstone models. You got your stuff, didn't you, Eric?
I got them put together, but I just no paint on them yet.
Exactly. I really need to get some more. Spaz says, do you have to have a hardcover book? Yes, 2 of them. At least 2. Spaz. At least 2.
Wait, do I still have it?
And look here. And then Alder, see, you guys are all jumping on. You understand what's this? You don't have to have everything. That's what I'm saying. I thought that's what we were all about here. I love, and on a different note, I love those Moonstone models. I love everything about those Moonstone models. I missed that last sale. I had way too much money. That's me, Mr. Hard Copy.
Yep.
I had way too much money in my basket when he was having the big sale. When was that? Was it before Christmas, or that was a while ago?
It was a while ago, but it was before Christmas. It was like a holiday Black Friday sale. Yeah.
So I missed that. So I'll get around to it, because even if it's just for the rule book, because I gotta have the book. And then what Todd say here? Frostgrave Crunchy. If you want beer and pretzels, is also an option. Yeah, that's kind of a
how deep you want to go, basically, right?
Yeah, how complex, how many layers do you want in the game? I think one of the other things too about the non-crunchy games that you had mentioned earlier in the notes was talking about the world, and there's like these 2 diametrically opposed schools of thought on it, and I think both of them are great. And one is just a rich, thick world, totally fleshed out. I mean, everything that's going on. And then you have here's a surface painting for you. Go do whatever you want.
Yeah.
So there's kind of those 2 schools of thought. And I like both of them because neither one of them makes it so that you can't add your own stuff to it. It's just that one has given you this much broader painting of what the world looks like. Mm-hmm. And then the other one's just like, hey, here's the baseline for it. You go do you in my world.
Make your own story.
Yep.
So now, can we think of any negatives for an intuitive game? They have another side to them too. They may not be as deep a world, like you kind of mentioned a little bit more free form. It may not be as apparent, but it could be there, right?
I think
go ahead.
I think one of the things is because those intuitive type games, because they tend to be skirmish games. I mean, realistically, and there's just so many of them. There's just so many, and I think that it can get lost because you can have a great game. I was actually Alan and I were talking to Mike Tunez over at Firelock Games just yesterday. I think it was yesterday. And he was mentioning, he said, it doesn't matter how good your game is if people aren't playing it. So I think because the market has so many of those intuitive type games out there, it's hard to get a foothold. Does that make sense?
Yeah. They kind of blend together. It's almost like you got to go out of your way to make something new, original, or something stand out for it to get noticed. In it. So another thing is there's not as many things to master and solve. You could figure it out pretty quick, what you need to do to, kill everybody and be like, okay, I'm done.
to min max every list.
Yeah. And I kind of saw that. Unfortunately, I think with I love the game still, Dracula's America, but I think in the beginning when you just had the core book, you only have so many choices. It was kind of like trial and error till you found something that just it clicked, it worked. It was kind of like no matter what you do, you're killing somebody type of thing.
Right. Well, Todd makes a good point here on the crunchy. If it's not crunchy, you don't have to put the time in. So you just you master it, you move on.
Yeah.
So you no longer
kind of a short life with you.
Yeah, and then setting a story that attracts players to get them to play or try the game, and I think both of them do that. It's just that it's a different approach for what you want, and I see it a lot with a lot of the historical gamers because we go to a lot of historical game conventions. Which, incidentally, you would think your first impression, you would think bringing something like Twisted or Ring the Bell. Twisted, thank you, or The Drowned Earth or something like that.
I'm off tonight or something.
to these historical games that they would be like, they'd be giving you the stink eye, like, what are you doing with that weird stuff at the game? But they're totally not. They've always been so cool to us when we show up with all these weird games, and they've been awesome. But their games, man, when they sit down at their table, they are there all day long. They're playing some crunchy games. They have flip charts and dry erase boards, and I'm like, man, that's too much for me.
My brain hurts like just looking at that kind of stuff.
That looks like work. That doesn't look like fun to me, but to some people it is. That's their wheelhouse, man.
So can you think of any intuitive games? I mean, I came up with a couple that I think are kind of intuitive. Going back to Spaz, I think Monpok is kind of an intuitive game.
Yeah.
Once you figure out the basics, you can play the game. So there's a lot of different stats for different monsters in the game, but it's one of those games that we were all playing with kids that picked it up like that, and they were kicking our butts.
Right. I'll tell you, probably the most intuitive game I've ever played is Wings of Glory / Wings of War. Easiest game. If you know your left from your right, you can play it. And I have typically, whenever I take that to a game night or something to teach people, inside of 5 minutes, if you're over the age of 12, inside of 5 minutes, you're going to be flying that plane like you're supposed to. And we're going to be, but it's also crunchy because you can layer stuff on Wings of Glory. You can you can start changing altitudes. You can have all of these other climb rates and stuff. You can have additional damages. So you can layer all kinds of stuff on it. But as far as intuitive, that one, and just by proxy, that kind of has to flow into all the games that use the flight path system. So you get the stuff like X-Wing, Star Trek Attack Wing, Dungeons and Dragons Attack Wing, because they all used the same system. So it's really, really straightforward Gaslands, super intuitive. It's
Yep.
so straightforward. It's like, let me take this, put it in front of my car and make it go. Besides that, how could you not have the greatest rule in the world, which Gaslands has? If you don't know what the actual rule says, go with whatever causes maximum destruction. That is the best rule ever in a game. So
I like some of these comments that Todd threw up here. Graphs and charts, so 70s, definitely.
That is so 70s, man.
But he doesn't bring up a good one. And I did not put this in our notes, but I kind of think the new version of Car Wars is intuitive versus the 80s version. I think that's crunchy. So it's like they went both gambits with that game.
Right, exactly.
Let's see. So I think, yeah, a lot of Osprey games that they have are very intuitive. Like you mentioned, a lot of the mechanics are similar enough that if you play one, you can play the other.
Yep.
The differences may be just very minor little things.
Anything by Ganesha Games, Song of Blades and Heroes rule set.
Okay.
I mean, that engine is super intuitive, super easy, and it goes across all genres of games. So, yeah.
Okay. So, yeah, both types can still be a lot of fun. Depends on your personal taste, exactly what you're looking for in the game at that time. Do you want to play 1 to 2 games in a meetup, or do you want to play a few
one game over the weekend?
or one game over the weekend. So yeah, it's it's kind of what is your personal taste? What are you looking for at that time or that weekend? For a game. I've heard of people going to cons and they don't even go to the convention because they're stuck in the hotel playing with their buddies, these long games.
Right.
But it's still fun, right?
Right. And we had talked about Relic Blade being a perfect example of the flip side of that.
Bye, Alder.
See you later, Alder. Is you can play 5 or 6 games in an evening at a game night. So, and then of course, 1-page rules. Tim throws that out there. Spaz said Raven Feast. I'm not familiar with that one, but I probably will be after we get off, because that's typically what I do is I go look up everything that I haven't heard of.
See, even we get suggestions from the viewers, and then we have to go investigate it.
Of course we do.
And then usually
we make big bucks. That's why we make big bucks.
Big bucks. Yep.
Big bucks. No, that's not right. Otherwise, we'd have the podcast mansion.
That's right.
Yeah. And you wouldn't be cold right now.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be cold right now because it's pretty nice here. See, you hit the blur thing. See, you didn't even have to hit the blur button.
What the heck?
You moved. You must just be naturally blurry.
Man, oh man.
There you go. You're just naturally blurry. Well, I think that kind of covers everything. That went. I gotta tell you, that went way faster than I thought it was going to. I think because there's a lot there in the differences between.
We could probably keep going a little bit longer on that.
And what it really, really, really boils down to is what you want to play and what you're going to have fun with. And I hate it when people play the game of mine's superior. It doesn't matter. You know what? You play what you love, you paint what you love, and you play the games with your friends that you love. And if you're hyper competitive and want to list build and min max, then you do that and you play with the people that are going to enjoy playing that with you. And if you just want to tell a story, you do that too. That's really what it all boils down to, because all we're really trying to do is have a little fun, hang out, play with our little plastic toy soldiers, right?
Yep.
There you go.
All right, sir. It's your turn this week. And
is it my turn?
Yes, and when we get to Red Bubble, I got something to share.
Oh, you got something to share.
Yeah.
I placed an order today, and I got to share this. I went way outside of my norm. I ordered a dark blue hoodie instead of black.
It's not black.
I don't own any jacket that's not black. I barely own any shirts that aren't black.
Look at you putting some color in there.
I know. Look, I got a little red today, but I went ahead and it's dark blue. You can't really tell that it's blue. It's dark blue. So
okay.
So anyway, all right, guys, thanks for joining us tonight. As Todd always says, the fastest 30 minutes in wargaming. We are super glad that you joined us. Don't forget that you can join us any number of other places, anywhere podcasts are hosted. You can find that. We always post our shorts up the next day onto this one. Might have to wait until Monday because I'm leaving for a convention tomorrow, but you can always find them up on Podbean and all of the podcast hosting thingy-majiggers out there. You can also check us out on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, and most importantly, at least right now, is our Discord channel, which is really hopping. So pop on over there and check that out. I will post an invite over on the Coastal Con Facebook group if you guys want to check that out, so you can just click it and go over there and check that out. There's a lot of fun stuff going on over there, pictures and talking back and forth about stuff. So it's growing, and we're really happy with the folks that are over there sharing their stuff and getting to see some really great paint jobs and stuff like that. So don't forget to check that out. But you can also email us at indieinvasion@gmail.com if you know of any of those games that we don't know about, like Raven Feast, or to force us to go over and finally click the button on one-page rules. Thanks, Tim. Appreciate that one. And thanks, Bob, for having my back on Starfleet Battles. I probably want to play Starfleet Battles now. You can also check us out on the Coastal Con website, coastaltext.com, where you can check out all the links to all of these places. Head over there. Check it out after Coastal Con 2022. I will have some new pics up there of our slightly reduced in size con, but hey, never know what's going to happen. 2023, right? You never know. You can also check us out on Patreon if you like what you hear. You want to support us, throw a couple pennies at us, help us pay the boatman at the river Styx. We would appreciate that so that we can get across the river. But check us out on Patreon, and our favorite place of late, as you can see, Eric has his hat on and his hoodie, redbubble.com. You can check out Indie Invasion over there. We have all of our logos and stuff. You can put them on a shirt, an iPad cover, a pillow. No, ready for this? What? Okay, Redbubble, go ahead.
Technically not a mini skirt, but here you go, Spaz. Bam!
Oh, come on, Spaz. There it is. It's kind of mini. A-line dress. Come on.
You get a small enough version, right?
Yeah. Okay, so Spaz, for those that don't know, Spaz has been telling us that he wants the Indie Invasion mini skirt.
There you go.
That looks like as close as we're gonna get, buddy. That's pretty close, though. I'm just throwing that out there. That's pretty doggone close. Not to mention the fact that I'm sure that you can pick it in any of our logos. So you can have the shorts icon, you can have the spaceship, you can have the logo itself. Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect. And Todd says throw some knee-high socks on there, which there are Indie Invasion socks. So
there you go.
Excuse there. But well, I'm super excited now. I can't wait to see the pictures, Spaz. I'm so excited.
I couldn't resist. I was like, okay, I've been putting that off. I gotta get that done.
That was too perfect. That was too perfect. Anyways, guys, thanks for joining us for the fastest 30 minutes in gaming. We are glad that you joined us as we embark onto and into the new year. Don't forget about your hobby goals that you set up as we solve the gaming problems one game at a time. And as always, my friends, prepare yourself for the invasion.